Hello and welcome to the Dream Team Professor podcast. In this episode, we're going to look at all the top point scorers and key talking points from the midweek Carabao Cup fixtures. I think this should give us good insight going into this restart of the Premier League season. And then we're just going to go over a quick team update, looking at my vlog team and my best team. We'll start with Wolves and their 2-0 win against Gillingham. And you had Ruben Neves was the star man in this game. He got 7.7 rating and 8 points in total. He hit the woodwork but didn't get on the score sheet. You had Bueno as well, so we was looking at their defence to try and see how they might line up in defence. And Bueno's recently been added to the Dream Team game, and he got 7.7 rating, which is pretty strong. He's only 2.5 million on the game, so that's someone I'd be quite interested in. But Semedo on the other side at right back, he got the 7 rating as well, but he's only 1.5 million, and he's been quite a good Dream Team asset over the past couple seasons. So at 1.5, starting at right back for Wolves, keep an eye on him in the Premier League. If he plays again, that could be a really good option. The rest of the back line was made up of Collins at centre-back and Kilman. Collins got 7, Kilman got 6.8, and then Jose Sarr got 6.8 as well. But overall, quite a solid defensive performance. And then you had Raul Jimenez. He got the goal. It was scored from the penalty spot. He didn't actually start the game. Diogo Costa started up front, but Jimenez come on and scored the penalty. The other goal was scored by Aït-Nouri, who came off the bench. Only played for a few minutes as well, but he came off the bench and grabbed the goal. You also had Adama Traore came off the bench for a 7 rating, so no surprise there. He does not have to do very much to get a 7 rating. Who scored really do like him on this game. As you can see, I've got the lineup on the screen here. So they started up front with Guedes, Diogo Costa through the middle, and Podence on the left-hand side. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Diogo Costa dropped for Raul Jimenez now he's fit coming into the Premier League season. Then on to Southampton versus Lincoln, which finished 2-1. And this looked like a good game to target for the clean sheet points. Zunu at 1.4 million looked like a good option to target. He put it into his own net early in the game, so already lost the clean sheet points there. Shay Adams rescued the game really for Southampton, who were quite poor in the first half, but he got 2 goals and the star man in this game with an 8.2 rating. But he quite easily could have got a hat-trick, and if you look it up in the highlights or on Twitter or something like that, he had a very good chance to get the hat-trick in this game. It was pretty much a 2-on-1 with the keeper. He could have either squared it or put it away himself, and he decided to sit the keeper down, try and take it round him, and then he ended up completely fluffing it. So really, although he got 18 points, which is great, it would have been brilliant if he could have got the hat-trick. After watching the highlights and looking at some of the stats, other than Shay Adams, I don't really think there's that many players from this Southampton side that I would look to target in the near future. Then we had Newcastle's 1-0 win against Bournemouth, and it was Bruno Guimaraes who got the star man in this game, so 8 points for him. And Newcastle actually lined up really strong for this game, pretty much full strength. Surprise inclusion as well was Callum Wilson, because he didn't look like he'd played any of those pre-restart friendlies, but he started the game and he was unlucky not to get a goal. He's 4.5 million, and he had a goal that was disallowed, but quite honestly, if there was VAR, I think it probably would have been given. You had Trippier, who obviously is a star man machine. He only managed to get the rating in this game. He did get a booking though, so instead of 8 points, he got 7. It was his cross that led to the goal. It wasn't an assist. It was obviously an own goal, but the cross was pretty good and it put Bournemouth under pressure and led to the goals. That looked quite good for him. And it was actually ratings and clean sheet points across the whole board for this Newcastle defence. You had Nick Pope, Kieran Trippier, Dan Burn and Cher and Botman all getting the clean sheet points and the ratings. I think the only other real thing to add in this game is a lot of people have got Almer on. He did get a blank in this game, and I've seen a lot of people quite concerned about it, but quite honestly, I'm not concerned. He looked fairly dangerous in the game. He had a good chance early on, but for his price point, you can't expect deliveries every week from in terms of goals and assists. So I don't think there's anything to worry about, and I'd at least give it 1 or 2 games to just have a look and see how he gets on before you start to panic. Then we had Leicester's 3-0 win away to MK Dons, and again another Premier League side that went really strong in this EFL Cup, and actually with quite a few big teams already out and Man City playing Liverpool, this could be quite a good chance for teams like Leicester or Newcastle to get their hands on some silverware. But in this game, we had Tielemans who got star man in this game. He got 13 points. He actually got a goal in this game, and at 2.9 million, he's now got 4 goals and 1 assist so far. So fairly good option and probably goes under the radar a little bit. So he got 13 points and 8.8 rating. You also had a Perez goal that was assisted by Luke Thomas. I was quite happy with that one actually because I brought him in last minute. He's 2.6 million and got 10 points from this game for the clean sheet and the assist. Vardy got the other goal, which was assisted by the other Leicester fullback, Castane, so he finished on 10 points along with Luke Thomas. And then in the defence, you had Wout and Amati, both getting the rating and 8 points each. Danny Ward did get the clean sheet points, but he only finished on a 6.4 rating. One thing to note now, with this Leicester defence, they're really quite defensively sound. They've got 4 clean sheets in a row. Before that, they just had a 1-0 loss to Manchester City. And then previously to that loss, they had 3 clean sheets in a row. So you've got 7 clean sheets there out of 8 games. So they've been really defensively solid. So something to keep an eye on. Then we had Nottingham Forest versus Blackburn, which finished 4-1 to Nottingham Forest. There aren't many highly owned players in this Nottingham Forest side in the Dream Team game. But we had Williams, who got an assist. Jesse Lingard got a goal and an assist. And Brennan Johnson got 2 goals and star man in this game. Lingard and Johnson were 2 players that were actually touted quite a lot at the start of the season that they could be enablers. I think I actually started with Lingard in a couple of sides, but he was absolutely terrible, so I got him out straight away. Then you had Surridge, who got an assist, and Awoniyi got a goal. But yeah, as I said, I don't think this would affect many people's dream teams. Then we had Brighton versus Charlton, and this finished 0-0, and Brighton actually ended up going out on penalties, which was quite disappointing for them. They had a fairly rotated side. I've got it up on the screen again here. One thing to note, you didn't have Sanchez in goal. You had Steele. You had Tariq Lamptey at right back, Duncan centre back with Colwill, and Pascal Gross, it's shown, was the left back, which is a little bit strange. A little bit disappointed with that lineup initially at the back because I had Estepinian in my team, but he actually came on as a sub and managed to get the clean sheet point, so I was pretty impressed with that. Turns out Dunk was probably a better option though. He's a similar price point at 1.7 million, so a little bit more expensive, but he got the clean sheet points and the Star Man Award, so quite a good pick if you got him in your team. I'm quite interested by Lamptey as well at the minute, so he's only 2.1, but he's quite a good attacking option. And if he can get a run in the side, he could be someone to consider. Matoma at 1.7 was a player that I was fairly interested in. He didn't start the game, but did come on as a sub, but he couldn't affect the game. He finished on a 5.8 rating. Another person to note that Trossard, he didn't start the game. He's 4.7 million, which is pretty expensive. He came off the bench, but got a 0 in this game. One thing I forgot to add about Brighton is that Alexis McAllister obviously just won the World Cup, but he's been given 2 weeks off as well, so we can't expect him to be returning to the lineup that soon. So then we had United versus Burnley, which finished 2-0 to Man United. And this was a game that a lot of people were looking to target, and it was fairly mixed in how things went. So starting from the back line, Dubravka started in goal, which was quite disappointing. I myself had De Gea in quite a few of my teams, and I know a lot of people did as well. I wasn't completely sure that he would start this game, but I did think there was a chance. Dubravka looked really dodgy in this game. They've given him a 7.1 rating, but he had a few scary moments actually. You had Wan-Bissaka, who started at right back. Dalot had a hamstring injury in the World Cup. You haven't heard too much in the way of injury updates, but I think he should be back fairly soon. But Wan-Bissaka played really well and got star man. 2.4 million he costs, and he finished with an 8 rating and an assist. The assist, I think Bruno Fernandes did a lot of the work. He played a lovely ball over the top to Wan-Bissaka, who put it in for the Eriksen goal. So after Dubravka and Wan-Bissaka at right back, we had Casemiro, Lindelof and Malacia. So obviously Casemiro doesn't usually play at centre back, but Harry Maguire was out with what I've heard is a virus. So that was quite disappointing as well. I thought he'd get quite a good run in the game, especially while Lisandro Martinez and Varane are still recovering from the World Cup. But no, Casemiro was at centre back. Obviously you wouldn't get any defensive points from him. Then Lindelof, he's only 2.2 million, so he could be a good shout just while Martinez and Varane are still out at the World Cup or recovering from the World Cup. And then at left back, you had Malacia, 6.9 rating for him. Luke Shaw was picked by quite a few people. He did come on to get the clean sheet points in the end, so fairly good for him, 5 points. In midfield, you had McTominay and Eriksen holding. Both of them got a 7 rating. Eriksen obviously got the goal, so 7.6, and McTominay got an assist for the Rashford goal, although it was pretty much a solo goal. So both of them finished with the rating points. Then on the right-hand side, you had Rashford. He scored a really good solo goal, dribbled past a few players, and he's just looking so confident at the minute. At 4.5 million, I think he's a really good player to put in your team in that third slot. If you've got like 2 premiums, he's a perfect person to accompany like a Haaland and a Salah. So 8 points for Rashford. Then Bruno Fernandes looked pretty good as well, playing in sort of a centre attack midfield role. 7.2 rating for him. He did go and ruin it a little bit because he would have had 3 points for the rating, but he ended up with 2. He was having a few handbags with one of the Burnley players, then just gave him a kicking right at the end. So got a yellow card, and he's actually going to miss the next Carabao Cup game, which is pretty disappointing. Then on the other side, you had Garnacho, who annoyingly still isn't added to Sun Dream Team. A lot of people have been tweeting about him and asking them to add him. I don't know what's taking so long with him. And then up front, you had Anthony Martial, who looked like he could be quite a good option. Personally, I'm favouring Rashford, but Martial is the cheaper option, and he's more now to start in that striker role. But I do still think that Rashford's pretty clear in terms of potential points. I also don't like that Martial does have this sort of injury risk about him. He never seems to stay fit for a long period of time. So personally, I prefer Rashford, but I wouldn't blame you if you did decide to go for Martial. Off the bench, we had Alanga. You had Anthony, who came on but got a yellow card. You had Williams, Fred, and then Luke Shaw, who I mentioned before, came on to get the clean sheet points. Then we have City versus Liverpool that's actually taking place tonight. The lineups have just been released. So they've got Stefan Ortega in goal, so no Ederson. You've got Rico Lewis at right back, Akanji at centre back with Laporte, and then you've got Ake at left back. You've got Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri and Gundogan in midfield, Riyad Mahrez, Erling Haaland and Cole Palmer on the left hand side. So big names really. You've got Mahrez, Haaland, De Bruyne. Gundogan's been fairly popular. Ake, maybe not so popular, but Laporte and Akanji are fairly highly owned players. And there are quite a few big names on the bench. So if you've got Man City players that aren't in this starting lineup, you have still got Foden, Bernardo Silva, Jack Grealish, Cancelo, Stones and Kyle Walker on the bench. So if your players aren't in this starting lineup, there's a good chance they could still come on. Personally, I've got Cancelo, so if they can keep the clean sheet, it would be good for him to get on. But this Liverpool side, I think, are capable of scoring past them. So we'll do the Liverpool lineup. You've got Kelleher in goal, so no Alisson. You've got Andy Robertson, no at left back, so that's a normal player to play there. Joe Gomez, Joel Matip and James Milner at right back. So no Trent Alexander-Arnold, but Matip, Joe Gomez and Robertson, that's a pretty good backline. No Virgil van Dijk. He's not on the bench either, actually. Then in midfield, you've got Thiago, you've got Stefan Maquiera, who I've not actually heard of. And then you've got Harvey Elliott as well in that midfield. Then you've got Mohamed Salah at right wing, Darwin Núñez up front, and Fabio Carvalho. So both teams have got a bit of a mixture of youth and big players, but there's potential points there. On the bench, the notable players really are just Tsimikas, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Jordan Henderson, Naby Keita, Fabinho, but no Alisson on the bench for Liverpool. And then on to my team updates, and how I normally approach this is I have a vlog team which I'll show you every week throughout the season, and then I'll show you how my best team's getting on. So obviously my best team could vary throughout the season, but we'll start with my vlog team. So 40 points for the game week. I've got a total of 853 points. My overall rank in this side is 42.8k, so I want to get that rank down as much as possible. Then transfers remaining, obviously we've just had the wild card, so I've got 5 out of 5 transfers still remaining in this team, and the team value is sitting at 54.9 million and I have 0.4 in the bank. So we'll start in goal, and I've got David De Gea in goal. Obviously a bit disappointing that he didn't play against Burnley, but he's got Nottingham Forest in the next game, which he should be there for. The only concern I have with him is with Man United having quite a few defenders out, whether or not they'll be as solid in defence, but I think they should still be capable of keeping the clean sheet against Forest. To my back line, and I've tried to target fixtures more than the best players at this point, trying to get a little bit of an edge going into the restart. So I went with Trippier. He got 7 points, and he's an obvious pick who I'm probably going to keep throughout the season. And they've got really good fixtures, Newcastle, and obviously we've seen before that Trippier is constantly getting good ratings and attacking returns. So 7 points for him. He got the clean sheet. He did get booked, so we minus a point there. Then I went for a double up with Newcastle and Fabian Schär. So he got 8 points as well in the clean sheet points. And I'm fairly confident going into that Leicester game that they could potentially keep a clean sheet there. It will be tough, but they are quite solid at the back. Then one of my more punty picks, I went for Estepinian. I was quite disappointed when I saw the lineups and he wasn't starting, but when I saw that he was on the bench, I thought there was a good chance that he could come on, and he came on and got the clean sheet points. So they have been eliminated from the Carabao Cup now, but I'm not too bothered about that. And they face Southampton away, which I don't think that Southampton really are that great, to be honest. Then another little gamble that I took was Thomas from Leicester. He got 10 points, which I was really pleased with. I wasn't expecting that. I was going to have Ødegaard in my original team, but when I saw that obviously Ødegaard would only be playing the Premier League game, I thought it could be a good chance to get a Leicester defender in there. So I went with Thomas, and he got an assist and the clean sheet points, obviously, and a rating as well. So 10 points is really good from him. Thomas is going to be playing Newcastle in the next game. So again, I think it's going to be a really tightly contested game. So I'm happy to leave this as it is and just play out that fixture. Then in the midfield, I've got Bruno Fernandes, Almiron, De Bruyne. So Bruno Fernandes, I'm pretty glad that he was lining up in that Carabao Cup fixture. There was a lot of talk whether or not him and Rashford would be starting and how strong the side would be. But he played in that Carabao Cup fixture. He would have got 3 points, but he got that stupid booking. So he finished on 2. It was fairly good. I'm happy to leave him in my team for the foreseeable future. I think Man U have got really good fixtures. I'm going to leave him in there, and I think he's really going to step up with Ronaldo not in the team now. Then we have Almiron. He got no points in this game, but like I said before, I'm going to probably give him at least 5 games just to see how his points go. He got no points in this one, but he was scoring goals in those pre-restart friendlies that they were playing, and obviously he's been really good throughout the season, so I'm willing to give him a bit of time. Kevin De Bruyne, he hasn't played at this point, but he's playing against Liverpool tonight. He's starting the game, so I think with Haaland up front, he's going to have so many good chances to get assists, and he puts in some really good crosses for Haaland, so I'll be expecting some points from De Bruyne. Then my forward line is Rashford, Salah, Haaland. So Rashford got me 8 points, which I was really happy with. He's looking incredible at the minute, and he'll be in line to start against Forest at the weekend. And I wouldn't be surprised if he can get some attacking returns in that game as well. Really impressive him, and it's good to get on him when he's in this sort of confident form. Then my other players, Salah and Haaland, both playing against each other tonight. But with those weakened defences, I think at least one of them's going to get on the score sheet. And if they can both get on the score sheet, well, I'll be well happy with that. My best team's actually very similar to the team that I just showed you. The only difference is I've got Cancelo in this side instead of Fabian Schär. So De Gea, Cancelo, Estepinian, Trippier, Thomas, De Bruyne, Bruno Fernandes, Almiron, Haaland, Salah, Rashford. So I won't go through each player one by one. All of these players I've just mentioned in my previous side. But Cancelo, he's on the bench against Liverpool. He's a player that just delivers points quite consistently throughout the season. And I really like having this team being able to fit in both Cancelo, Haaland and De Bruyne. I think having those 3 Man City players is a really good way to go if you have the budget. 32 game week points in this side. Total points is 889 at the moment. And this team's up to 16.6k. So my first milestone at the minute is going to be getting back inside the top 10k. And ideally at the end of the season, a little personal target of mine is to try and get under 1k. So I'm a bit far off it in a minute, but it is a really long season and I think I can improve on that. Transfers remaining in the side's 5 out of 5 like the other one, but my team value is significantly higher. So 58.1 and I've got 0.5 in the bank in this team. I'd normally let you know what transfers I was thinking of making going into the weekend's games, but actually this is a bit of a strange game week. So on the match centre, the game week started on Tuesday and it would normally end on a Friday, but actually the fixtures are showing for the Boxing Day fixtures as part of this same game week. So the Boxing Day fixtures are Monday and they're still showing in the game week 15 fixtures. So I have a feeling that any transfers you make aren't going to go through on Friday morning, and it's probably not going to go through until potentially the 30th of December. So at the moment, I'm not going to give you a rundown on my transfers. I'll probably give you an insight on what transfers I want to make ahead of that 30th of December fixture. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, or if you're listening on Spotify, please do follow us on there as well. See you on the next episode.